Hello everyone, it's Richard here from UKVersus. Today we're back with another deck profile. So we have All For One. A bit of a pet deck of mine, something I sort of built in set 4 and had a lot of fun and reasonable amount of success with. Yeah, so I recently updated it for set 5 and just thought I'd put this video out there, just sort of go over my choices and just see what people thought and see what people's thoughts are in terms of maybe anything I've missed from set 5 or changes I should make. I've only played a few games with this current configuration. It seems okay so far, but certainly doesn't feel like it's quite the finished article. So by all means, I'm more than happy to listen to any sort of comments or suggestions anyone have. So you know, leave some comments in the video if you think of anything. So yeah, we've got All For One. So for those that don't know, he's got Void, Evil and Chaos. He's 627. He's got Enhance. Your non-throw attack gets +1 damage for every 3 foundations in your stage, maximum of 5. So having stats on face, pretty good. Obviously he wants to build out because he wants to up that damage as much as possible. He then has Enhance, Commit, discard all momentum. If this attack is blocked, it deals no damage. Wall click on face is pretty good. Yeah, there's plenty of people playing throws. There's plenty of people trying to play zone overload. So just having that emergency button is very, very good, just as a defensive ability. And then response at the start of the combat phase: add 1 card from momentum to your hand, then add 1 card from your hand to momentum. So this sort of does 2 things. So he pretty much always has 1 momentum because the lifting a card is not a cost. So going second, it's effectively extra review. You get a free momentum. You can always still do it going first on your second turn and just go down a card to get momentum. And just generally, you always have the 1 momentum. And then above that, as long as you don't have a terrible memory like I do, being an old man, and remember where your momentum is, you can always swap, those grey cards or whatever in your hand, pick up those attacks again from your momentum, go again, and just sort of keep cycling through like that. So yeah, very, very good ability. So today we're playing on Void. So a lot of people might default to Chaos on him, just because Chaos has a lot of cool things, but I'm a big fan of the Void and specifically the Kicks package. So the general sort of idea of the deck is that his face does the damage, right? And then the kicks generally have high speed and sort of middling damage. So they do your offense. Your kicks do the speed, your face does the damage. And then he's got some defense on face, and then the idea of the foundation base, that is mostly defensive, as you'll see. So this isn't an aggressive deck by any means. This isn't a trying to kill you turn 2 deck. This is I'm going to stretch the game to sort of turn 4, turn 5. I'm going to defend, build up some momentum, poke, and then eventually I'll overwhelm you and kill you. So let's look at the attack lineup. So first off, we have 4 high engine kick. One of your best pokes. It's a 4 high 4 check. Got a very good one mid block. So yeah, 4 difficulty. And then Enhance, discard a card. This attack gets +2 speed. If you discard an attack, it gets +4 speed instead, and you draw a card. So you always just get to cycle a card for 2 speed. Generally, you're going to get at least 1 or 2 damage from face on this. So at base, it's like a 6 high for 5, 6, 7. If you've got too many attacks, you're trying to dig for some foundations to build, you can always make it an 8 high. Quite often it will connect, and if it doesn't, it means they spent a whole bunch of resources to stop it. So good when you're sort of going in several attacks in, or good when you're just trying to poke. It sort of does everything you want, and again it has an excellent block. So get it in your momentum, you can always pick it up on your opponent's turn. Always have that 1 mid block, so you always be able to block very well on the opponent's turn, and always just cycle it. And it's just a low cost, high reward attack. We then got a Void kick staple at 4 of Reciprocal Extend. Does everything you want, draws you a card. Again, it has a middling block. It's only a 3 mid, so you not really want to block with this card. So as a 4 mid 4, it's not overly exciting, very, very blockable. But you get to put 3 damage on it, and that threat of giving your next kick +2/+2 is very threatening. So oftentimes your opponent might take this thinking they need to block this next one that's coming in for a lot more damage. So this can often get in for 5 or 6 as like a freebie. You can always sort of poke with this, and if they decide not to block, it's like, well, I'll just build out then. I won't play them in the next one, and I've just got some free damage, free momentum. And just always replace itself. So, you're always drawing cards off this. It's always good. Always just like one of your best openers, just to, pass on those stats. Just does everything you want, really. We then got 3 Hardened Frenzy. So, some of these kicks sort of aren't as good as almost as I want them to be, but they sort of do a job enough to justify the slots, and Frenzy's one of them. So it's a 4 high 4. It's got the low block, which is one of the main reasons it's here, to be honest, because you want some low blocks on your attacks. But you never really trigger that if you build a card this turn. This attack gets +1 speed, +1 damage. You don't really have much within the attack lineup, within your foundations, that really does that. Apart from if you go Frenzy into Frenzy, because obviously if this attack is completely blocked, you build it face down after it resolves. Again, it doesn't feel a good one for your opponent to block, so again, you can always generally get its momentum. If they do block it, great, I've got another resource, I'm getting more damage on my attacks, and then it just means the next Frenzy comes in. This is a slot I'm not married to, so if people can think of better things to put here, I'm all ears. But Frenzy's sort of the best thing I found for that sort of low block slot here, and it does a good enough job that I'm fine with it as it is. We then got what might seem like an odd one. We've got 3 Rebound Sidekick. So this is a 4 difficulty, 2 mid block, 3 check. It's a 3 mid for 4 with Flash, and you might think Flash is pretty much of a nombo with his face, because you don't get to put his damage on it. But what this card does is it guarantees us momentum, unless your opponent's got things like your Faith Shields, or actually I don't even know if Faith Shield works against it. Surprise Interception probably does. It's just a 3 mid for 4, but if they do block it, it goes to your momentum, whatever happens. So either they take 4 or it's going to momentum. So again, a great poke, and it's just guaranteeing getting the momentum. It does have a momentum enhance, where you can add it to your card pool for +2 or -2 damage. It doesn't seem like a great thing, and it doesn't come up often, but it can and has won me games for both those sides, either to just get those extra 2 points of damage on an attack to finish off, or just to sort of throw my opponent's math off, get that -2 damage, survive, then kill him on the crackback. So again, it doesn't come up necessarily often, but when it does, it's great. And it's sort of a freebie, right? You're not playing it for that enhance, it's just some gravy on the card that is there just to get some damage and free momentum in. It's always a great one to pick up stats from Reciprocal Extend, just as a 5 mid for 6 that they can't interact with, and they don't want to take 6, but then if they do block it, it goes into momentum, clears your progressive, lets you continue. So again, not married to these slots, but I found that this card does enough to justify its inclusion, just getting that free momentum. And the reason we need momentum, you'll see from the next 2. So we've got effectively almost like our 2 finishers. So we're playing 2 Reciprocal Acceleration Kick and 2 Reciprocal Burst. They do similar things, like they're both trying to end the game, just in different ways. This is obviously using that to get one big attack. This is sort of clearing that progressive, getting the stats from face. This doesn't necessarily always as a kill them, but does a good enough job. I could see maybe playing like a 3rd burst, 1 Reciprocal Acceleration Kick, but they're good in various ways. I'm only playing 2 of each because we don't really need more than 2. Like, we can always generally see one of them if we want them, and early on you can just stash it in momentum, so it's there and you can always pick it back up when you need it. It's got the high blocks, and these are ways of, okay, you've not got resets on the board, you've tapped out, I've got 2 or 3 momentum, okay, I kill you now. And we don't rely on these cards to kill, we don't need them. The rest of our attack lineup can chip opponents down, but they have both felt very good. Again, in various things, like This one doesn't require the momentum to kill. This one does. So, you know, they're both good in certain situations. So I like the 2 and 2 split. They both felt good. Our last 2 attacks, because we're playing 20 total attacks, is 2 Rising Engine Kick. Again, a slot I'm not married to, but again, this has felt good. I know it's got that 2 check, and sometimes I feel like this is a card that justifies that 2 check, but it felt like it had. So obviously this is very, very good into acceleration kick, because it's got the enhance your attack. Your next kick attack gets minus 2 difficulty. So you go reciprocal extend into this, into reciprocal acceleration kick. You know, it's a great feel of a attack lineup on that turn. But yeah, so it's a 3 low for 4. It's got EX2, so it's a way of getting you know, attack speed if he needs to. But one of the main reasons I put it in here, other than the sort of how it works and just sort of helping you string out on turns where you need to get damage through, is this the bottom enhance, which is commit 1 foundation. This attack gets +2 damage. Your rival discards 1 momentum. It gives Void some momentum sort of interaction, which it doesn't really have any other way, and it does enough, as well as, you know, all the other stuff, even if you don't necessarily need that momentum thing. But again, I feel like it's justified at slots. I'm happy just playing it at 2 of. But yeah, we you know, again, some of those stuff, I think with your first 8 attacks, you know, the reciprocal extends and the high engine kicks, those are just straightforward. Obviously, I don't think you change that. Everything else, I think you could certainly tweak those numbers. So yeah, we're running at our 20 attack lineup. I did used to play this at a slightly larger configuration. I think I was playing 22. And I had hardened jab in here as an option, and I sort of went off it. Again, it's not a kick, it doesn't necessarily work with stuff, but it does obviously do all the things jab does, but it never felt like it was really justifying the slot. It was doing good things, but it wasn't really doing what the deck wanted to do. Obviously it's good with Frenzy, but it felt like the most cuttable, because I wanted to trim the deck down, because I was running it at 66, I believe this is at 60, and that felt like the most cuttable out of the attacks. Another option you can go with, and that was like one of the first iterations of this deck, taking this slot as like the 2 check, was Tape Swing. Again, not a kick, but Tape Swing is effectively a throw, but it doesn't have the throw keyword on it, which means All for One gets to stack his damage on it. So it means you play your Tape Swing, comes in for 8 or 9, what have you. They take half, it goes to momentum. Next turn, you pick it back up again. You Tape Swing, they take half. Next turn, and it's sort of that inevitability. Again, it doesn't necessarily work with the rest of it, but again, it felt very good as like this inevitability. And I probably would run Tape Swings in the sideboard. I don't have a sideboard to go over today because that's sort of in flux. I haven't really built one properly for this. I probably put Tape Swings on the board for when, you know, I want those over these high rising engine kicks. But yeah, Tape Swing's definitely you know, a thing you can do in this deck that feels very good, but felt it wasn't needed, and the kick lineup as it was just better. So yeah, that's our attack lineup. We are playing 3 actions. We are playing the good one from set 5, so 3 barrier shields. Probably doesn't need too much introduction. Just speed hate, gives you some breaker. Obviously that bottom enhance or rival cannot add cards to the hand with attack using on character effects will sometimes come up. You know, someone's going to play a double jab pummel or a latent skill. You know, it does have interactions. It doesn't come up very often. But the main one is that enhance remove, reduce the attack speed to 0. Your next card this turn gains breaker 2. You don't get a lot of breaker blocks on Void that certainly that I want to play in here. So just having that as an option with a high block on itself and be able to give a breaker block to something else feels very good. And especially in a character that wants to play defensive, I think 3 of these is where you start. So yeah, I think 3. I could see playing 4, maybe trimming it to 2, but I think 3 feels good. We'll then go into our foundation lineup. So we're not playing huge amounts of zeros, but we're playing enough. So certainly first time around with this deck, I felt stun was fairly terrible against me. For all for one himself. So being able to then 4x keeping Harry safe felt like an obvious thing to do. Just a very good spam, helps you against stun. You've got gotchas as another sort of pseudo stun hate. Again, they're sort of low impact spam, but they stop you getting stunned out, so you can block and survive those turns. We then got a couple of easy excited just to get a couple more zeros in there, a little bit of extra speed, a couple of extra high blocks, and then a couple of saving back goes. There's not so much flip going around that I feel like I need more, but you do have a lot of key defensive pieces you want to stay on your board, which I'll get into. So having some amount of flip protection feels very good. I can certainly see playing a third if we're seeing more seasoning advantage going around, things like that. But yeah, playing 10 zeros in my again, it's a 60 card deck, I believe. I felt about the right number. Again, you could sort of tweak with these numbers, but this feels like a reasonable configuration. We don't really have any combos with gotcha in terms of what we're doing on our attacks, like anything to sort of force commit it for the +1 speed in our turn. But it's just a way, if they are stunning us, gives that bit of speed hate, just so we can block and stay alive. Yeah. So again, you could easily tweak those numbers around, play like, one less easy excited, play an extra saving back you go, just as you do to for block zones and personal preferences. We then got plenty of ones. So first off, we got 4 calling for backup, sort of almost a bit of a staple on these symbols. Just flip draw a card is very good on a spam. It's got a okay 3 mid block. You just want it in play. You just want to have those cards so you can play 2 or 3 attacks and still have those cards in hand to block with. Sometimes just using it to cycle on an opponent's attack just to try and dig for a block zone is very good. Yeah, just a staple. I wouldn't ever really cut one of these. Just does everything you want it to do. 3 tape. Tape's very, very good. I can see playing the 4th. It was one of those ones where I cut a 3rd. We don't need it necessarily as much as other people because we do have that walking on face, or even if we're off zone blocking, we need to not take any damage, we can do. But just being able to change stuff to a mid, obviously we're playing generally more mid blocks, or just speed reduce their mid attack. Very, very good. We're playing 2 each of Male Bonding and Manly Passionate Guy. I think I want 4 of this effect in the deck, and again it gets obviously a bunch of low blocks in the deck. I went with the 2 and 2 split. I'm not sure which way to go. We have got 27 health, so we can afford to face tank some attacks. So Male Bonding is where it comes good there. Manly Passionate, obviously, it's a bit more sort of in vogue now. Used to be this was a dead card and everyone played Male Bonding because they would just face tank everything. We don't live in that world so much anymore. So I like the 2 and 2 split. Again, I think you want 4 of the effect in this deck, and I think the 2 and 2 split just to block the stuff, build it down, or okay, we face tank something. Either way, on our defensive turns, we're still able to build out our board, and having those options to allow that is very, very good. We've got a couple of idle works. It's our only lock breaker really on void to keep us out of deadlock when we need to. Just destroy a foundation. If it deals no damage, draw a card and discard a card. It's low impact, but sometimes you just need something to destroy your foundations, and that's our way of doing it. And worst comes to worst, it's got a reasonable 2 low block on it. It's a spam. It does what it does. Sort of a necessary evil. I think every deck unless you're a turn 2, turn 3 deck where games don't last till deadlock, I think you always want some way of keeping yourself out of it if you need to, and idle work's our option. We've then got 2 practical studies. Again, a new card. I haven't really tried this one out so much, but one thing Void lacks a bit is deadlock threats. As you may notice, probably on all those attacks, there isn't really anything that says the word deadlock. There isn't huge amounts of deadlock on Void, so having some amount of pressure is good. Just getting some free speed early in the turn is pretty decent, especially like when you're leading with things like reciprocal extends, just getting some extra speed on them to say, like, if you want to block this, you have to put more resources into it. Very good. And then obviously having that deadlock, commit, seal, away, or foundation, your attack gets +3 speed is a very, very good deadlock ability. So I could see playing a third here. Again, it was just sort of tweaking numbers really to get that just down to 2. So yeah, that's where we are with the ones. And then we play a fair amount of 2s, and here's where a lot of our sort of one-offs come in. And here's where a lot of your, I think, personal preferences might come into view, and how you want to play with these sort of one-offs. And because a lot of the sort of more impactful foundations appear in your 2 difficulty slot, and here's where a lot of your personal preferences and what you value and what you evaluate like would come into it. And this is where I've landed. So we've got 2 decoy duplicates. We've pretty much always got momentum to activate this. It's a very good escape valve. I could see playing a third. We don't get to play Broken Psyche, which I think is probably a little better overall as a card, but having that escape valve is very good. I could see playing a third. I'd probably at least play a third in the sideboard. Got 2 Body Rejuvenation. Again, a new card that I'm trying, and I haven't really had chance to necessarily see it play too much. In my brain, it should be good, right? Discarding a card, you want the speed hate. You've got card draw, you've got plenty of it, so you should have always spare cards to give you that speed hate, and just being able to get some free health for when it ends up in your discard pile. Doesn't happen often, but just it's a freebie, right? You play it mainly for the discard a card for -2 speed, and sometimes you might gain some health off it. Heroic Lineage. I used to play 3 of these, got cut down to 2. Again, it's just nice speed hate, and sometimes that +2 damage matters, right? Just for getting over the line, because you can, most of the time you've got an EX move, you can always give it the speed bonus, so just giving it that extra 2 damage is often good. Playing a single spooky. Again, we're not going to do the erase head thing of, okay, I'll reduce your speed to 0, or spooky, or take nothing, but there's a lot of attacks going around that are coming in as maybe like an 8 for 15 or something, and as long as if you can take it down to a 5 spooky, it take 5 rather than 15. If attack feels very good. There's a lot of attack people playing very lopsided stuff, so just being able to, okay, I'll just take 3 or 4 off this attack and not care, it is good enough to me to justify the slot. Patient Observation. It is an odd one. Again, I could see cutting this card, but it's one that has actually sort of overperformed my expectations. So it's commit, discard momentum, this attack that's -4 speed. High cost, but you always have momentum, right? So you've always got momentum to be able to do that. It's also a 3 low breaker 1. It's got a 6 check. It felt a little bit greater than some of its parts. It's done enough for me. But again, I could see cutting it for like another Manly Passionate or something along those lines. A single Sense of Justice. There are plenty of people playing punch decks or range decks, so just having this option for to just on their third attack, okay, I'll give it -3 speed. Again, I used to play more of these. I think again, numbers wise, this is one of the ones I got trimmed down. You could play more. But sometimes this card isn't going to be hugely impactful, so I think a one-off is totally fine. We've got a Force Quirk activation. I think one of these is correct. I could see playing more. You pretty much never want to be doing that bottom enhance. You never want to debuild yourself just unless they've got something really key that you get to snipe. It's really for that remove to add a card to your momentum. Obviously we get to cycle our momentum, so it's a way of effectively pseudo drawing a card, right? We need to, we've built up 3 or 4 momentum. We need to get that reciprocal burst because we get them on the next turn, both of them on a discard pile. Okay, I'll Force Quirk it into my discard. Next turn, I'll draw my card, put one of my foundations in there, pick up that reciprocal burst, and we're good to go. So it always sort of gets you that attack you want from your discard pile. So again, I could see playing a second. I think 1 is totally fine. And obviously with a unique keyword, we don't necessarily want to play multiples and have dead foundations on hand. Same sort of deal with Citywide Crisis. And again, these have those 4 checks on them, so we don't want to overload on those. You know, we're playing 2 4s, 3 4s, 4 4s. I think there might be some in the 1 diffs as well, so we want to try and minimise those if we can. Again, it's a reset to respond to enhance, remove, return this attack to print speed. Play well committed, very good. And that that your turn response after drawing cards on your turn to just fill their card pool is very good. Sort of does enough. Again, reset to good. Having a 1-of is totally fine. And then we got 2 learning the standards. I think feels almost underplayed in the format alone. I think it's very, very good at the moment. I would love to fit a 3rd one in the list. Haven't quite found space. There would definitely be at least a 3rd and possibly the 4th in the sideboard if I had one. You're trying to stay alive and last out those turns, get that momentum, and then kill your opponent. So learning standards is a very good way of doing that. And sometimes that that top response comes up, but mostly you're playing it for that. Just stop attacking me, please. Below bottom response. Again, you don't like debuilding yourself. You want to build out your stage to get that damage. But if it keeps you alive, you don't care. Learning standards does everything you want. So yeah, that's our 2 diffs. Again, we could see, I could see playing a 3rd one of here. I could see this one being here. There's a lot of room for putting your preferences on this lineup. And then the sort of part of why I wanted to put this video right here. So I've, this sort of deck as it is, I felt good with. Again, I think I was playing like 66 cards previously. I had jabs. I've tried it with the tape swings. And as felt, it's like it's got game against most things. I've never, it doesn't necessarily sort of overwhelm an opponent. Sometimes, sometimes you draw those hands, but most of the time it's like, you sort of have to scrape for wins. But it almost feels like a lot of those times is you're always in the game. You've always got options. You've always got the defense. So for example, I played this sort of at a locals last week, and I played against a Mirio, and it was a struggle. And I think I was on 1 life for about 3 turns before actually time ran out on the round. But I just survived. I'm just between sort of just blocking and having that momentum thing. I just managed to get through. And no matter what Mirio were throwing at me, I just survived on that 1 life. And that's what this deck can do. It can survive, and its attacks can be very, very threatening. So yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. If you've got any suggestions for cards I might have missed, or things you don't think should be in here, things you would like to replace, or just give the list a try. I'll try and make sure we've got the UVS link in the comments. When it comes to that UVS link, if you look at the sideboard, it'll probably be a right old mess because I'm not going to probably go and edit it. But there was just a lot of cards in that sideboard that I was considering and I played around with. And obviously, there's going to be things coming into this deck coming in at set 6. So I think All for One on Void is something I'm going to continue tinkering with. To me, it's felt like a deck that's very, very good, but isn't quite there. So if anyone feels like they've got the magic potion to get, got the answer to get this there, I'm all ears, because I really enjoy playing this deck. It feels good, it feels powerful, but not quite at that sort of good enough level. But yeah, so this is the deck. I hope you've all enjoyed the video today. Obviously, like, subscribe, comment down below, let me know what you think, and just subscribe to the channel. Hopefully we've got more videos coming out. Obviously we've got the UKVersus podcast most Sundays, sometimes on Tuesdays if you can't do the Sunday, over on twitch.tv, that Dabby guy. So yeah, come check us out, say hello, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.